Welcome to our live lunch and learn. Today we have a great topic for you, and it's how to speak English like a leader. And the reason I wanted to include English there, not just speak like a leader, is because something unique about you as a leader who's also a non native speaker. And what I see with my clients is that they have strong leadership skills. However, they don't always translate into American leadership communication style. And so that's something that's unique where I find that the clients that what differentiates training for leadership skills for Americans or native speakers is that what they're looking for, or what those trainings give, are more about the strategy and how to. Whereas the people that I work with, my clients, are leaders who are strong leaders in their native language, so it's not that they need leadership skills necessarily. It truly is how to translate those skills, how to communicate that effectively to an American corporate environment. And so those are some of the things we're going to talk about today. Specifically, I have three tiny things that make a big difference. I saved the worst for last because as much as my clients love me and I love them, they always hate me when I do the training for the third one just for a little bit, and then they see how valuable it is. So I'm curious to see how you feel. Okay. And before we get started, I want to make sure that you sign up for my leadership summer program. It starts on May 1st. We have limited seats. It's a really exclusive program. And this is to help you within 12 weeks to optimize your leadership communication. And there are so many amazing bonuses that are going to help you feel more confident about your accent, about your clarity, about your virtual presence, your executive presence online, and so many other wonderful things. So if you're interested, apply at tanyasuarez.com/leadership. Now, the first of the three things we're going to go over today is as a leader, I want you to practice answering directly. And what this means is this is about a communication style difference. A lot of the cultural backgrounds that I coach, the priority is the explanation. With American communication, the priority is, and you'll hear me say this a million times, we talk like bullet points. So I want you to process your answer super, super directly. You can offer more details, you can offer more explanation, but the most important thing is to be perceived as a strong communicator, a confident leader, and to build trust. You have to answer the question first. And what I see my clients do is they'll get a question, and to an American, it feels like you're going off on a tangent, which means that you're talking about something different, or you're kind of you're beating around the bush, as we say. And so, what you're doing from your non native speaker perspective is you're providing context and then you're providing the answer. To an American, we value the opposite. We want the bottom line, the absolute most direct answer. And then, if we need more context, we'll either ask for it, or then when you provide it after, then it's valued. When you do it the opposite, when you provide context or explanation first, unfortunately, what that does is it is perceived as though it kills the trust a little bit, because it to an American, it kind of feels like, are you hiding something? Are you trying to compensate for the fact that you don't know what the answer is? So it plants the seed of doubt. And when you're in a leadership position, you quite frankly can't afford that. Trust is everything in business. And this is one of those ways where I see non-native speakers hurt their credibility or their reputation, and it's so easily avoidable. And I know that your intention is good. Your intention is to build trust in the way that you've known to build trust, because in your culture, in your the way you communicate with your native speakers of your language, it would feel disingenuous to answer directly and then provide context. So it can feel a little awkward at first. So I find that in the training that I do, when you understand why that direct answer is effective and why it builds trust and it helps you connect with people better. And most importantly, it's also about buy-in, and it's about getting people to do what you want them to do. This is going to be a huge difference for you. And I will warn you, it does feel a little awkward at first, especially if you understand that, or if you perceive that to be kind of, ugh, it's okay. When you're communicating in English, it's not just the word for word translation, it's the cultural translation that really is what communication is all about. So understanding why can help. And if you understand it and you don't care about the why, that's fine. Just do it. Whatever your process is, the end game is the same, and that's to communicate more effectively. Now, kind of along the same line as that, so that's when you're answering a question you want to answer directly. And the other part of leadership communication and English communication in general for Americans is to be concise. This is where the bullet point principle comes in, where I really encourage all of my clients to think in bullet points. What is the bottom line? What is the shortest way that you can say this? From a language perspective, this is good for you. It's saying less. From a communication perspective, this takes the most training. This is where I find the most difficulty with my clients because being concise is hard. It's an art. If it was easy, everybody would do it. Effective communication is not a given. It's something, it's a craft. It's why you have coaches like myself that come in and help you understand the strategy and the communication to elevate your ability to connect and to make an impact and make a difference. So being concise, get to the point. I want you to now, the thing about this is I can't just tell you do it, right, without showing you how. I actually like to train you to practice in low risk situations so you can understand the principle, so you can understand the process, the mental process when you're thinking in different languages. And then it becomes easier to apply in the corporate context. So, something that I would love for you to do to help you practice being concise is watch a show or a movie and then record yourself and answering the question, like, oh, what's the show about? And you're going to notice that when you first do it, oh my goodness, I mean, you might be recording yourself for 5, 10 minutes. That's okay. Get it out of your system. Then don't even listen to it. We're just doing that because we're getting the old you out of your system. And then we're building strategy to have the new you, the more confident communicator. Then I want you to challenge yourself. Okay, how can you describe this show or this movie in 3 sentences? Record yourself, try it. Then what I want you to do is I want you to look at how, for example, if you're watching on Netflix or any of the streaming platforms, they'll have the description of the episode and they're usually 1 to 3 sentences. So once you've tried it on your own, then go read out loud how the platform has summarized it. So that's just to give you more ideas, maybe see it done differently. And remember, they're trying to do it without any spoilers, but you're doing it for yourself. So it's okay if you like say the ending. Then the final challenge, try to describe the episode or movie that you watched in 1 sentence. It is challenging. And remember, it's not a test so much as like no one's going to grade you. But what you're doing is you're starting to filter your brain from that big picture thinking of over describing. You're coming being more concise. You're seeing an example and you're being extra concise. This is great not only for conversational English, because if someone asks you, like, oh, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, I watched this great movie about blah. Short, concise. If they're interested, they will ask you more. But the goal with conversational is that it goes back and forth. So you're not dominating the conversation with a monologue. Then for leadership communication, for business communication, being concise is amazing. It gives you clarity. It also gives your team clarity. If you're presenting to the executive board, it gives them clarity. When someone can be concise, you earn respect. You earn trust because people understand that you know your domain so well that you can communicate it in a few words or a few sentences. And so if you want to think of it that way, because part of you might get defensive and think, no, like if I don't give them an explanation, if I don't really give them context, they're not going to trust that I'm doing the right thing. So I like to remind you that your position in and of itself has a certain level of trust because you've made it that far. And then to adapt your communication to that American English style is yet another level of respect. And remember, especially with Americans, if someone needs more details, they'll ask for it. You can also provide, to create that kind of safe, welcoming environment, you can give your most concise directive and then say, is there anything else I can help clarify? Are there any questions? Would anyone like any more details? So then you can create that opening that if someone wants to, they feel safe asking you for more. But practice in a low risk situation, like trying to describe a show episode, and then you're going to feel the frustration there, and then you start moving. Then I would recommend practicing like describing your weekend. You can practice with a partner, you can just practice by yourself. Say everything you want to say, get it out of your system, and then try doing it in 3 sentences and then in one. And as you train your brain to process information that way, you're going to see that impact, uh, just that fluidity be more natural in the business context. So you won't have to think about it as much. Now, the third, I think the best, most of my clients think it's the worst at first, is using less fillers. Look, saying and it's not a bad thing. So I don't want you to think you have to eliminate them completely, but it is something that you need to do less. I can tell you, even without meeting you, that you're using and too much. And the reason is you're using it as a holder because, from my experience, non native speakers will use these as a signifier that I know what I'm saying, I just need a little more time. The thing is, it is incredibly distracting. And the exercise that I do with my clients, I'm laughing because I just did this week and she hated it, but it was effective. And by the next day, she really understood what the purpose was. So you can do this for yourself as well. What I do is when my clients are speaking, I'll take something, it could be like something like this. I have a blue box there. And anytime they say or I just bring it up. So I don't verbally, and you can have someone do this with you or for you. I don't verbally interrupt them. But the goal there, and what you can do is you can also, if you don't have someone to help you, you can record yourself and then like block the video every time you say or The goal there is to physically connect what you're doing verbally. Every time you say or it is as distracting to the listener as this little thing was distracting to you visually. And so what you're doing is you're killing the energy and the flow of the information. I promise that if you just say nothing and you just hold that breath and pause, it's going to feel like an eternity to you. It's going to sound like half a second to the other person, and they probably won't even notice. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So, for example, if I overuse fillers, right now, like every time I'm trying to think, and I'm like I'm fluent, but I'm breaking up every other word with you're probably feeling a little bit antsy listening to me. It creates a sense of, do they know what they're saying? So for you, your intention with using fillers is to let them know that you do know what you're saying. Unfortunately, the impact of that on the listener is doubt. And as a leader, having someone's trust is everything. So if they're doubting you, here's the thing: you're afraid that they're doubting your English. They don't. What they're doubting is your expertise. And that's the biggest thing I want you to know. You pausing increases their trust in your expertise. You saying overusing and it means they're doubting your confidence in your expertise. And when you have someone in a leadership position, you want to trust that whatever they say to do, there's a reason and you're just going to do it. So that's the biggest impact. And remember, again, using and every now and then, not a bad thing. So a couple of things you can do to work on this on your own is you can pull up a question randomizer, just get a random question from online and record yourself answering it. Just answer it. I usually like to set the timer for 1 minute. That way you know that it's going to end. Then watch the recording. And I want you to either block yourself every time you say or count it. If it's just, I would say, with a minute, 2 to 4 times, you're in an okay range. Anything more than that, and you'll be surprised at how many times it actually it adds up. You might think you do it very seldomly, but I usually what I used to do was I would count, and whenever I got to 10, I would stop the person. That became a little more frustrating. So the quicker way is just visually, but it is Huge. I want you to know that it's going to feel like an eternity. It really isn't. And in fact, when you're practicing on your own, hold it. And then look, and I've gone through this myself. When I first started creating videos a few years ago for social platforms and I would edit my videos, oh my God, it's not that you're doing it as a non-native speaker, even native speakers. I mean, I would drive myself nuts. So the reason I started improving was honestly because it took so much time editing out the ums and uhs. And I know now that there's software that does it, but I think it's really important to do it yourself. That's why I say record yourself, because when you see it and you see the frustration it causes as a listener, it is a very fast way that empathy that's created you will never wanna make someone feel that way. So when you feel what the ums and uhs make you feel, it's going to snap you into like, "I do not want that for people listening to me." And so I find that that helps you improve faster. And remember to breathe. A lot of times when I see my clients use fillers too much, it's because they're also not breathing. And this has a lot to do with something you can do to help yourself is intonation work. Read sentences out loud, focus on your breath work, focus on intonation, because when you breathe, it's a natural pause. The perception is you're just breathing and it gives you time to think. And when you do have to use a filler word, I find that even making a tiny switch to saying well instead of often makes it sound a lot more professional and smoother, but it gives you the same amount of thinking time or pause. So those are also like next level. Once you've eliminated from saying it 20 times to saying it 2 or 3 times, and then you can figure out what other fillers might make you sound more elevated while giving you the same benefit. I promise you this is worth it. Record yourself. Have someone record you or have someone count while you're doing it or do what I do of like doing something visual. Warning, you're gonna hate it. It's gonna feel really frustrating. Part of you is gonna wanna get defensive of like, but I need to do it. I hear native speakers doing it. Yes, it's okay to do it, but remember, 2 or 3 times is very different than 10 or 20 times. It's worth the practice. Okay, thank you so much for joining me for today's live lunch and learn. Remember to go to tanyasuarez.com/lead to download your free audio training with really amazing insight into the essentials of American leadership communication. So this is going to help you with the mindset that you need to then change your perception of how you organize your thoughts and how you communicate. Okay, thank you so much. Let me know if you have any questions. Now I can stay here for a moment. Hello, Leo. Yes. Good. And you know what? I'm going to put your comment up here. Because watching my videos is awesome, but that is only passive learning. So that's why with every video, if you notice, whenever I do the trainings, I always give you tips, but then I give you actionable ways that you can practice it. So same for today. You have to record yourself. You have to speak it. You have to see yourself do it. You have to see yourself mess up. And part of it's being able to make mistakes and mess up and do it gracefully. So even when you're stumbling, how do you do it in a way that you can keep the positive energy going for the conversational part? Yes, excellent. All right. Thank you so much for joining, and I look forward to seeing you on Thursday. We're going to do, let's see, this week we're doing the conditionals. So, like the if statements. These are really great because they're actually four, and it can be a little bit confusing. So, I like to teach a storytelling style. So, that'll be interesting if you want to improve your grammar and feel more confident with conditionals. Thank you so much.